Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish.
Hello, lovelies. It is another Daily Dish edition in a week and everything else. It's Monday, Motivational Monday, for those of you who are counting. So glad to see you. Catherine, I'm happy you're here. We have Deborah and Doris also in the house. There's our Jackie. How are you feeling, Jackie? I hope you're feeling well. Anyway, Jocelyn's here as well. Hot Melt 30. Pinkies up. If you're a Hot Melt 30, drop your hashtag Hot Melt 30, HM30 into the chat. I just want to see if you're there. Who's out there? Linda, hi. Anyway, last week, kind of weird week because we had Monday was an off day because what were we doing on Monday? I was out there floating in the lake with my kids. And so we had a good old time on that one. Hi, Sue. I was thinking about you this morning. Martha, I'm glad you're here. There's our Deborah. Anyway, so I was thinking about how it was a weird short week, but whatever. We can handle it, right? Hi, Phyllis. And so today we're going to finish up that three-legged stool. What I'm talking about is we're talking about vibrant longevity. There's three components to it. The first one we discussed, a lot, and it was food and movement, the physicality of ourselves. Hi, Kathy. We also discussed the psychology of understanding our mindset determines how it is that we react to life and do things and all of that. And then today, well, I've got one for you. I'm not even going to tell you what it is yet. You'll hear it in just a minute. So today we're going to finish that up, but it's all about vibrant longevity. Because who wants to live to be 100 if you're just going to feel awful and decrepit and bent over and can't move and all of that? No. We want all the vibrancy. Hi, Kathy. You ready? You did see Martha there, didn't you? I hope so. All right, a couple of things. First of all, we have lots of buy one, get ones coming up. Just keep watching because we're doing some things. Our buy one, get one is our Leptifix. Now, I will tell you personally, for me, I love, love, love this product because what this does is help us fix our own leptin. What happens is as we start to lose, the belly fat, which is totally on goal, right? As we start to lose that, guess what happens? You guys aren't going to believe this. Our leptin breaks, and our leptin is the hormone that says, hey, time out, you've had enough. You're full, whatever. But what Leptifix does, it comes in with a little glucosamine and a few other things, and it just knocks out the broken part of the leptin and fixes it so that you start to feel normal hunger pains again and that you feel satiated and you can eat. You take this on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. And I will tell you, I'm a big believer in this. I love Leptifix, so it's buy one, get one. It's a pretty big deal. Not only that, but you're also going to get the Hot Milk ABCs. These are so cool. And what each one of these letters stands for something. Like A is all in. If you're a Hot Milk 30er, we have to be all about being all in. Bone broth, collagen, vitamin D, right? Excellence, not perfection. We frog eating first. Remember that? Gorgeous skin and HIIT training. All the little reminders. It'd be cool to get two of these, because then you could cut them up. Because there's two sides to this. You can cut them up and then you could put them on your vision board. Don't you think that's cool? Hello, Patsy. Hello, Lisa. So these are kind of some fun things. Savingdinner.com/show for that special of the week. It's a huge deal. You're going to save a ton of money. So get on it. The other thing you need to know, we have an Etsy store. You can check that out at savingdinner.com/Etsy. We do free shipping for those of you who are spending over $300 in our store. If you're in the lower 48, as a way of saying thank you for choosing us to get your supplies from. We appreciate that. The other thing is, can I just tell you how fun tonight is going to be? It's our webinar. Tonight won't be just any night. Tonight is a webinar on the rising tide. This isn't even a course. I would say it's more like an intensive, a 3-week intensive, so that you can understand what it is that you need to do, tweak, fix, adjust, customize to create the momentum that you're looking for to make your goals. Now, we do goals differently. We break our goals down into 12-week segments so that it seems real. It has a deadline that doesn't seem like, next year sometime. That's how we do goals. We also do the affirmative, intentional type of goals. I'll explain that tonight. And tonight, I'm going to show you exactly what the rising tide is all about. Because with the rising tide, you also get a one-on-one with me so we can get deep into the weeds. I help you create goals that are tangible, that work. Okay? It's all tonight. So if you go to savingdinner.com/rise or rising or whatever it is that you want to put in there, you will see the link to get your seat. Without a seat, what do we do without a seat? If we don't have a seat, you can't stand in the back. You got to have a seat. So go to savingdinner.com/rising. All right. We'll be sending out an email just to remind everybody, probably a little later this afternoon, because it is an important way to end. We're getting into the fourth quarter here of the year. Can you believe that? Has 2023 flown or what? I just flown. Speaking of rising tides, speaking of making your goals, speaking of all of that, we know James Clear, one of my favorites. One of these quotes, this quote is just like, boom, right between the eyes. You ready? You don't rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your habits. That was my head exploding, by the way. Isn't that the truth, though? It is so true. Because what are goals except dreams with deadlines and to-do lists that become habits? That's what they are. And that's exactly what the training is all about in Rising Tide. We've had some great, honestly, it's a great course, intensive, whatever you want to call it. But it's the second time we're doing it. So if you haven't joined us, now's the time. All right. Did I say everything? Did I do all the things? Let's get busy. Okay, so we were talking this last week about vibrant longevity and what that looks like, what is required for that kind of vibrancy. Because it's not just a matter of having a lot of years, it's about having quality in those years. Super important. This is something we all require that, don't we? Isn't that a requirement in your life? Isn't that what you want too? So we have to think about, if we're going to be thinking about that, then we need to say, okay, so what's going to make that a truth for me? First thing is, of course, it's always going to be, how do you fuel yourself and how do you move? It's your physicality, because your physicality is the vehicle of your life. If you can't get around, if you're feeling terrible, if you've got all kinds of things going on, you got to get that dialed in. You get the food dialed in, you get the movement dialed in, and then we start to see, when we feel better, we do better. I oftentimes find. And the second part of it is the psychological piece of mindset. Our mindset, we have to shift a lot of things. Oftentimes we find ourselves in this mindset and we didn't even realize that creates limiting beliefs and limits our lives. So we have to dial that in. We have to step into, what does this mean? I believe, by the way, and I'll talk about what the third one is in just half a second, because that's what we're talking about today. But I believe with all of my heart that when we start to notice what it is that we're doing, instead of beating ourselves up, if we start to take a step back and say, what can I do to correct that? Then we can, we can start dialing things in. That's what it's all about. That's how we get to the place from I can't to maybe I can. It's a possibility to look what I did. And that's kind of where I want to take you on all of this. But the third one is a really important one, and we don't think about it often enough, and that is becoming a lifelong learner. Now, I could take you through all of this. The easy way to take you through all of this is just saying, learn a new language, do this and do that. I mean, all the stuff that you would expect. But I want to throw down some unexpected ways and some unusual ways of becoming a lifelong learner that will impact the longevity of your brain. There's a couple things that I'm really studying right now. Things that help to guarantee or at least make chances better that you're not going to suffer from dementia later on in life or Alzheimer's or anything like that, because no one wants that, right? That's a frightening diagnosis, and we've all seen people suffering through that. We've had family members or friends of whatever, and there are things that we can do to avoid or at least put it off as much as we can. Yes, there's a genetic component. I have one of those genes. There's several though, and I'm at a lower risk, but at a higher risk than others. I don't have a genetic history in my history on my side of my parents. Either one of my parents' side, nobody had dementia, thank God. But when we know better, we can do better. And we always need to remember this, that the genetics might be the thing that load the gun, but it's diet and lifestyle that always pulls the trigger, because there's always something you can do. And that should be an empowering thing. That's not to pile on you, but that's to say, don't ever give up. We have a good fight to make, and we should make that. That's part of, that's part of our mission here in life is pushing and striving for all that we want in this life. And part of that is, that staying sharp. We want to stay sharp as a tack. And you've heard people when they're describing, oh, you should see my grandmother. You should see, we have a neighbor. She's, blank years old. She's 89 years old. She's 95 years old, sharp as a tack. It's always the first thing that they say out of their mouths, or they'll say something like, yeah, and she walks every day and you should see, all of these things they bring into the discussion about this older neighbor or this elderly relative, how sharp they are and how agile they are, because those are some of the first things to go when we get elderly. So if we don't want to be elderly, what can we do? Well, first of all, we have to realize that stagnation is a part of the problem. And it's not only a step backwards, it's a missed opportunity to thrive and enhance your potential for everybody, wherever we are, but especially as we get older. So when we understand that lifelong learning is a beacon of hope, that it shows that we can retrain our brain, that there is neural flexibility in there, even at advanced stages, then we have a pathway to not only personal and professional refinement, but actual vibrancy in our heart, minds, body, and soul. Because it all feeds one another. It's all this wonderful loop. This is why we always say, you're not a number on a scale or the size of your jeans or the color of your lipstick, because you are a whole woman, and the whole woman needs to be honored. The whole woman needs to fit into the equation. So let's look at some things and start with, first of all, the why. Why is lifelong learning going to keep you sharp? Well, first of all, it's neuroplasticity. It boosts it. It helps you with unique learning experiences. It facilitates new neural pathways and connections, and it promotes a youthful and flexible brain. Nobody wants a brain that's shrinking. And our brains shrink when we're dehydrated. Our brains shrink as we get older. But if they're getting a workout a little bit by having to do things in a new way, having to, even brush your teeth with opposing hands or whatever, That's going to help with the neural flexibility. And that neural flexibility is everything, everything. So if you hear something coming out of your mouth like, I only want things to stay the same, I don't want to change anything up. No, it can't be any way but this way. I'm stuck in my ways or whatever. That's a setup. That's a setup for losing your edge and becoming a little less, and you know what? It's a little less smart. It's a little less capable. It means your reflexes are slower. It means you can't think in complex terms. Think about what it means. This is why all of this is so important. And this is why all three of these things go together. Okay? I mean, we can feed our brains just as much and as we can work them out and everything else. We also, if we are curious, when we're curious, we're asking questions, we're noticing, we're open to learning. And you know what that does? It curates a playground, if you will, for this innate curiosity. So you're always asking, well, what's that all about? Well, what if I did this? What do you think of that? Maybe if I just did something different today, maybe it could be something else. When you foster a mind that is vibrant and eager, you're creating sharpness, smartness, intelligence, quickness. You want to be a quick thinker, don't you? I want to be able to stay a quick thinker, be able to think on my feet. You too? Of course. That is a sign of a young, youthful brain. And that's what this does. That's what this does. So it's super important. There's also this thing called the butterfly effect of knowledge. And that is that sometimes you pick up a piece of unconventional knowledge, something that doesn't make any sense. So something you pick up today could be the solution. You say, aha, to a problem tomorrow. If I hadn't seen that, I wouldn't have seen this. Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to me. And it's really interesting how all the things work together for good oftentimes. Ever hear that Bible verse? I sure have. I think that's interesting. So not only are we looking at the why, we also need to look at the how. So how do we do this? And how do we break the mold of the usual? Do a Sudoku puzzle, do a crossword puzzle, or, whatever. Well, there's several things that you can do. And one is, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but I think this is a fun one. It's called physiosophical doodling. Okay. This is when you try to understand your thoughts and doodle around on a paper. Get this. Okay, just hear me out. I know it sounds a little bit odd, but it enhances understanding and retention of something maybe that you're trying to learn or something that you're trying to think through, something like that. I've done this before. Like if I'm sitting there and trying to think, like I did this with our inventory. I was looking at all the numbers and doing all the things and going through all of it and thinking, maybe I need to take this out, put this in. I don't know. What do you think? And I had little sketches of things and put some other things together and looked, what would this look like? And when we're asking ourselves these questions and also writing with our hands, there is a hand-eye coordination effort going on, and that just gels in our brain. So this is something that we can do that'll really help us out a lot. And then there's randomized knowledge hunts. You ready for this one? So here's something you can do that's fun, that it's permission to go down the rabbit hole. And that is to put a timer on and then think about something that you're interested in. Like, I don't know, something that you're interested, like some organic gardening or some kind of a thing that is just something you've always really enjoyed and you just haven't taken the time. Well, do it now. And then what you can do is take that and see how much information can I absorb at this time? This is something that I wanted to do. I didn't do, but we have an organic garden just right up the street from us, and we bought a plot there. And I wanted to get in there and figure out how to amend the soil to give it the best possible chance. Well, we got lots of basil. Our tomatoes were a disaster. Bell peppers were great, but everything else did not work out. Cucumbers were kind of not so great. Zucchini died. So what was up with the soil? That would be something that would good 15 minutes maybe of just delving in and saying, okay, I want to learn everything that I can about organic soil so that I get the best outcome for my veggies. Fun, right? But this is something that we can do and become a little bit more knowledgeable, so that we understand something a little better and a little more clear. The other thing is that you can, you're in charge of your own life, right? You know that right here. Look, let me show you. You are the queen of your own life. You know that, right? As the queen of your own life, you can design your own do-it-yourself curriculum. What are you interested in? Maybe there's some craft things that you're interested in. Maybe learning a new language. Maybe there's some cooking skills that you'd like to get under your belt. Write them down. Well, what does that look like? What could you possibly do with this? Well, I want to learn how to bake bread, and I want to learn how to needlepoint, and I want to learn how to, I don't know, go build a shed out back or something. All of this stuff, by the way, we have the best university in the world, University of YouTube. You checked it out? There was a single woman with children who built their own home doing nothing but watching YouTube videos. Seriously. I told you this, I had a plumber and an electrician who could not help me with my gas logs. I was selling my house and the gas logs had a light switch and they wouldn't turn on, and I had to get it fixed. That was part of the agreement. Plumber couldn't fix it. Electrician couldn't fix it. So I went and took the little booklet that came in it. I got this serial number, put it into YouTube and put the problem in there. They told me exactly what to do and I fixed it. See what we can do? So create your own curriculum. What do you want to learn? What sounds exciting to you? What opens your world and gives you more? That's all a part of being a lifelong learner. And you know what lifelong learners are? They're wise women. Wise women are lifelong learners, by the way. You know that. Yeah, troubleshooting in a big way. Patsy, we have so much power. When we understand the power at our fingertips because of YouTube and because of tutorials that will help us, we can learn anything. If you said to me, I want to be a coder for whatever, there's all kinds of make big salaries or whatever, and you wanted to learn how to code or something, you could do a tutorial probably on YouTube and learn how to do that. Never attending a university, but going to the University of YouTube. What do you think of that? I think it's just fantastic. And then there's another thing you can do is, it's a bizarre thing, but you can do a fictional character debate. So, discussing world subjects, like world things that are going on, like what is this about climate change, for example? What is this about people wanting to go with all electric cars? And let's have this discussion. I mean, it'd be pretty interesting. And you can look at the debate points. Did anybody ever do debate in high school or debate in speech? I did. And it was, we had to go to the library to go get our talking points and stuff. Now it's right at your fingertips. But it's awesome because it teaches you to have critical thinking skills. What is this? Is this something we take to the table or not? So that's another thing that you can do. And then, problem solving in your journal. If you have a problem, sit down with that problem and say, okay, so what can I do with this problem? We have a tendency, ladies, to hand wring and talk about it instead of looking at it and saying, I'm going to be analytical about this. I'm going to figure this out because everything is figure outable. And if that's true, which I believe it is, then we need to move to the next thing. What does that mean? What do we do next? What's the plan? How do we get this? Because we need to figure out what the potential answers to this are. Is it X, Y, and Z? Is it this? Is it that? All these critical thinking skills are bringing us to the place of staying sharp. That's the goal. So there are also some other things that you can do. These are some weirder stuff. I mean, I don't know what, light floats your boat, but let's take a look at one of them is a solo improv session. And you can do I've done this, by the way. I've done this. Act out an imaginary scenario. like you're having a conversation with somebody or you're giving a speech. I used to practice practice speeches, And how are you how are you commanding the stage? How are you walking around? What are your hands doing? That kind of a thing. But it brings you into the wholeness of what it is that you're trying to do. You're trying to be more articulate. You're trying to time your stuff. If you've ever been in Toastmasters, you know. That's exactly right. You just need to know where to look. Another thing that you can do is play podcast roulette. Now, this is a big deal because most of us with our confirmation bias are always going to look for the things that we like. But what if we just said, all right, spin wheel spin, let's see what we got. And we listened to something that was not exactly up our alley. That's a good way to learn something that maybe had no interest before. And maybe after you're done with it, you'll say, well, that's 30 minutes. I'm never going to get back. Or maybe you'll say, you know what? I'm going to start listening to this because this is really interesting. I never knew X, Y, and Z. Another thing is extreme reading. Okay. Have you ever heard of that? It's enhancing your focus and taking yourself out of where it is that you would normally read and then going bonkers on reading something. You could do it on a picnic blanket. You could do it in a library. You can do it in a coffee shop with some earbuds in. But just taking yourself out of what your normal environment is and then going all in on that book will give you an enhanced learning situation. I take it a step further. I have an Audible account and I have, I get credits from, I don't know why, but from Amazon, they give me a credit every month. And I take that, listen to the book and read it at the same time using my, like highlighters. And then I've got the little flags and what have you. I will tell you the retention from listening that way and extreme reading that way, it's like nothing else. So, life is an extreme landscape of opportunity, isn't it? There's so many things. We have so many untapped potential and opportunities in our lives that we never take advantage of. And I just want to bring this all to you because I know what you want. We want the same thing. We want our years, we want longevity in our years, but we want vibrancy in them as well. And one of the things that we do is that we treat this brain of ours as something that is constantly changing and shifting and growing, and that we don't see ourselves as just there. We're not. We're always at this place of opportunity and learning and becoming. What do you want to be when you grow up? It's a good thing to ask yourself if you're 50, if you're 60, or if you're 80. These are things that help us to stay absolutely on top of everything. So I hope tonight I will see you at the Rising Tide. If you go get your seat, it's at 7 p.m. Eastern. Go to savingdinner.com/rise to go get your seat. We'll send an email out just in case. But and let's hope Crowdcast isn't going to be a booger tonight. I hope not. Anyway, we'll talk to you later. Peace be with you. Bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.